As you step forward, the cabin explodes. The world bows to her.
This is always how it was going to end. And this is always how it was going to begin.
The Apotheosis is by far my favorite Chapter 3 in Slay the Princess, and has been for quite a while. It initially started as a bit of a joke since I was just as down bad for the tower as the next guy, for obvious reasons. And what's the Apotheosis if not just a bigger, better tower? But as I finally played the chapter on my own to get some clips for a video I was working on, my whole perspective started to shift. Up until that point, I'd only ever seen the Apotheosis through the lens of other people's playthroughs, and all of those playthroughs had either been pre-pristine cuts and therefore lacking some substance, or had been people that were forced into the chapter and chose to scorn her as a result. So, in my eyes, the Apotheosis was just a big scary lady that should really put on some clothes. She was a vengeful god, not much different from that of the Fury. But, as it turns out, if you show her grace, things get very interesting. I wasn't at all prepared for the story that unfolds if, instead of getting smited, you choose to embrace her. The thorn didn't really affect me at all, but damn did the Apotheosis hit home for some reason. And I'm not sure what that says about me. If you choose to embrace your new goddess, she forgives you for your defiance in previous chapters. All of it is just water under the bridge as the two of you sit at the edge of something great. The narrator is gone, leaving only you and the princess in the halls of the Long Quiet. This is where you're meant to be. At her side. The Apotheosis in all her glory can see through the construct around you. She may not fully understand what's going on, but at the very least one thing is certain. The world you live in is a lie. A facade put in place to keep her, and by extension you, from your ascension. And so, she reaches out and digs her fingers into the walls of the Long Quiet, intending to set the two of you free from this prison. But there's one slight issue. The Long Quiet isn't just a place or a concept, it's you. And so, waves of excruciating pain wash over you as everything you are is torn to shreds over and over again. The princess attempts to comfort you, to promise that the pain will be over soon and that it'll all be worth it. But that's easy for her to say, as she's not the one currently being ripped apart at the seams. The all-encompassing pain and anguish quickly morphs into something else. Anger, the desire to lash out, to hurt that which is hurting you. You're presented with a choice to either suffer in silence or to make her suffer with you. For me, the choice was obvious. The phrase "make her suffer with you" is metal as hell. Not to mention the whole situation reminded me heavily of Take Me Back to Eden, so there's no way I'm not choosing to bite back in anger. This, unfortunately, is a decision I immediately grew to regret. Because as your body unfurls into threads and you use those threads to lash out, to transfer your pain to the princess, something catches your eye. The hole the princess just tore into your divine flesh gives you a glimpse of the real world. The world outside of the Long Quiet is right there, right before your eyes. It's unbelievably vast and colorful and beautiful. You don't know why or how, but every fiber of your being is telling you that that's where you're meant to be. It calls to you. But just as quickly as it appeared, the hole closes in on itself as the princess cries out in agony. The two of you are left alone in the halls of the Long Quiet yet again, and just as the shifting mound comes to claim her new vessel, the princess says something that I will come back to later in the video, as it's a very crucial reason for why I love the Apotheosis as much as I do. The princess, upset and in pain, says,
"If this wasn't enough, then what is?"
Before we dive into that very loaded question though, we're gonna backpedal, be a good little bird, and suffer in silence. We're going to trust that she's right when she says it'll all be worth it. You lose yourself in a sea of pain, entire lifetimes fading away as you die and are reborn repeatedly, shrinking further and further until there's nothing of you left. Then, finally, her words pull you out of it. You open eyes that no longer feel like your own, and you see it, the something beautiful beyond. The hole the princess has torn into the walls of the Long Quiet, a glimpse into the worlds beyond the construct. The princess steps forward, bringing the two of you closer to the edge of the something beautiful. But before the two of you can leave together, the princess is stopped dead in her tracks. You look down to see that the mound has come to claim what it's owed.
No!
She does what she can to resist the sea of hands crawling their way up her body and pulling her down, but it's a futile effort. She's drowning, and she knows it. In her last moments, the princess lifts you over her head to keep you safe from the mound. The hands have made their way to her face, and life begins to fade from her eyes as she succumbs to the cold. The Apotheosis in all her glory shows a moment of true vulnerability as she realizes this is the end for her, but it doesn't have to be the end for you. She thanks you for showing her grace and apologizes for not returning the favor before mustering what little strength she has left and hurling you towards the something beautiful beyond.
Fly, little bird.
You're brought face to face with the gap she tore in the world, so close to your freedom, but it closes before you can make it to the other side. You turn around to face the princess, but she's gone and the mirror is left in her place. This shit broke me. Genuinely, I don't know what it is, but something about that last moment where she shows vulnerability and expresses some level of care for the Slayer really hit me for some reason. It made it so that when I went back and played through the other routes you can take the Apotheosis down, I couldn't help but to see her in an entirely new light. I'd initially viewed the Apotheosis as a cruel and power-hungry god since she was an extension of the tower, but seeing all her last moments, watching the mound take her away, made me rethink that. It's ironically led to me humanizing her despite the fact that she's anything but human. The Apotheosis is the closest any individual princess can get to being the shifting mound. There's no way around it. She's a goddess. The narrator says it best himself. The world bows to her. She's everything, but it's all meaningless. And it fucks me up because I can't imagine how horrible that feels. To be faced with the harsh reality that you're no better than a being you considered nothing more than a pet. That even after having reached insurmountable heights, you're still nothing more than a prisoner chained to the wall. You may be a god and the cabin may be gone, but the chains still remain. You'll never be free. Your best isn't good enough. I can't imagine how it feels to go from a helpless prisoner locked in a basement, relying on someone else for your freedom, to reaching a point where you've freed yourself. To reach the highest point you could ever imagine, to see through the facade around you and realize there's somewhere else you're meant to be, somewhere beautiful, and then have it all come crashing down around you at the last moment. To realize that even in your deified state, you're just as helpless as you were before. It's especially heartbreaking to me because unlike the tower, I don't view the Apotheosis as having any malicious intent. I hate to say it, but I might have to side with the Broken when he calls her a gracious goddess. You know it's bad when I'm agreeing with the voice of the Broken, but even if you choose to attack her, she almost views you like how I look at my cat when he wants to play a little rough. You're just a small animal acting on instinct, so there's no point getting upset about it or holding any grudges. There's maybe a little annoyance to be had, a slight undercurrent of why are you like this, but more than anything, she's just amused. You're so small and puny compared to her that she doesn't see you as being capable of doing any harm. So she holds no grudges about it and still offers to take you with her on the path to her ascension. Now, if you push your luck and actually manage to do some harm, she'll lash out with the wrath of 1,000 suns burning so brightly that even the narrator feels it. But even then, she almost seems remorseful once the initial moment of anger is over. If the Apotheosis had leaned further into the whole shtick the tower had going on, if she'd gone full evil, I honestly wouldn't care for her all that much. Don't get me wrong, there'd still be, reasons to like her, but that affection wouldn't go much farther than just, wow, look at that character design, she's massive. There's not much depth to be had there. It'd be a very surface level connection, and I wouldn't really be all that upset watching the mound take her away. If anything, it might even be satisfying watching such a pompous motherfucker get taken down a peg or two. But something about the fact that she goes from the evil, pompous tower to low-key seeming like she cares for the Slayer just really does it for me. It makes me upset. I don't say this about many of the princesses, but she deserved better. I don't care if the mound tells me not to mourn her because she won't mourn me. I'm gonna mourn her all I like, thank you very much. No weird hand lady is gonna tell me what to do with my time. If I want to get sad about fictional characters, I'm gonna get fucking sad about fictional characters, and you can't stop me. But it is also 3 in the morning, and I need to shut up and stop recording. I don't want to owe Ryan $100. I'd be very upset if I was the first one to fuck up. So I'll see you next week. The clock is ticking.